Hello, welcome to the first year Polytechnic course of Guru Nanak Institute of Technology, Kolkata. I'm Dr. Indrajit Bose and I shall be your course coordinator for this session. This paper is entitled Communicative English. Now, in the course of this paper, you will be coming across various kinds of written documentation at the workplace and also different types of spoken interaction which will meet workplace requirements. So we should be looking at the forms, genres, and modes of all these types of written and spoken communication in the course of our lecture. Now, today's lecture is entitled Writing a Progress Report, and it is lecture 1 in the series. Basically, there are many different kinds of reports which are usually a part of workplace communication. Really speaking, they are kind of everyday communication over there in the workplace. And for different types of projects and daily requirements, you are required to put in reports. Now, what is involved in all these types of reporting, we shall be taking a look at in the course of our lectures, because there are different types of reports to be written. So today's lecture is really one of these lectures on the different kinds of report writing in your syllabus. Now, you all know that in the corporate environment, particularly nowadays, there are many different kinds of projects which are concurrently running. And when you join the workplace, you will be a part of a workplace team, a project team, and you will have a project leader or team leader who will be guiding you. Now, a project may be a time-bound exercise, so it might be a year long, or it might be a little longer than that, or maybe a 3-year project. But whatever it be, the kind of work that you do on any of these projects, there is a question of periodic reporting of the progress that you have made in the project. For any kind of project, there is a question of sending in a report. So, what are all these projects and what is this mode of reporting? This is what we shall start our lecture by looking at. Then we shall take a look at what exactly are progress reports and how they are written. We shall consider the features and parameters of these types of reports, take a detailed look at the format. Then there shall be a writing guide and, of course, a detailed sample study of a progress report, which is written with the help of a case study or exam. Right, let us start. Now, any kind of project. Now, this can be a work project involving, let us say, the construction of a railway line in a particular section of the railway tracks, or it can be, for example, the construction of a bridge, or it can be, let us say, the developing of a software. So anything may be a project, but of course, it will involve very specific aims, work plans, and a certain timeline for the completion of the project. Now, once we are working on a project, as I have said, that you may find that you are part of a certain project and that you have a team leader or project leader, and that you have been given a specific aim or a set of aims, and that you have to meet these aims within a specified time period. Now, once you are working on that project, let us say that you have been working for a year. Now, how much of these aims of the project have you been able to realize within the span of 1 year? That's a question, isn't it? So, Have you realized these aims partly, or have they not been yet fulfilled? So, what is a progress check that you are able to run on the work that you have done or you have completed so far on the project? So, have you realized the project aims? How far have you realized them? What about your other achievements in the project? Can you make a list? So, obviously, we need to make a periodic monitoring of the work that is done in all these projects. Now, why is this necessary? And there are one or two reasons. One is that obviously there is a question of funding or financing of these projects. So, the financial outlay that is involved, the funding may be obtained from a government organization or some other organization, or it may be funded by the organization itself where you are working. Whatever it be, you are accountable for the expenditure that you are making from the funding account, and obviously you have to show that you have made a proper utilization of the funding resources. Again, the other reason is that the work that you are doing on the project. So, how far have you done the work on the project, or what kind of work have you done so far? It may be that you have done 60% of the work, or it may be you have done 50% of the work. The pace of the work may vary. However, we have to try to complete our projects in time. So therefore, we might need to accelerate the kind of progress that we are making on the project. So in order to complete the work within the specified deadlines, we might need to work faster, or there may be problems which we have to take care of. So the progress report or a check on the progress of the project will enable us to make these adjustments. So these are the two basic reasons. One is, as I have said, the financial factor, or we can say the funding, utilization of the funds, and the other is the kind of work, the amount of work that has been put in, whether that is satisfactory to meet the project requirements of completion within the timeline. So the reports, or we can say the progress reports which are written, they enable us to run a reality check on the projects and their stages of completion when they are written. You see, if we do not make a reality check, then we are not able to envision how much exactly we have achieved and what is left, nor can we troubleshoot the problems, if any, which we need to in order to complete the project satisfactorily. So, project reports are extremely useful. They help us by giving us a reality check on the kind of work, the nature of work that is done. They give us periodic updates on the work completed, the manpower allocation, the funding utilization, and other factors. They also enable us to do more effective future planning. As I have said, that there may be various problems which have cropped up in the course of the work. The progress reports will enable us to make more effective plans for the future where we can take care of the various requirements and the various problems which have cropped up in the course of completing the work involved in the project. And of course, they help us to plug in all the loopholes which inevitably crop up when once we start doing the work on the project. So for various reasons, progress reports are written and they are extremely useful in enabling future planning and doing a kind of stock taking of work that is already completed on the project. That's fine, we write them. Okay, let us now proceed further. What exactly are these project reports? So, if we were to try to attempt a working definition, we might say that it is a report made to inform a supervisor, associate, or customer of a project made and the progress that is made on the project over a certain period of time. Now, this can be any kind of project, as I have said. It can be a project of a construction of something like a railway embankment or a school building or a bridge, or it can be a design of something new, or maybe even a repair of some existing structure or something existing. Now, the project may involve various kinds of things, but the progress report will explain various things that have already been done, like how much of the work is already completed, what is the current state of the project, which part of the work is currently in progress, how much of the work remains to be done, what problems or unexpected occurrences have cropped up in the course of completing the work, and how the project is going in general. So it's a kind of reality check, it's a kind of progress check of the work that is done in the project. Now, there are three essential parts in a report like this. One is how much of the work has already been accomplished. This is the accomplishment part of the report. So you might say that we go back to the goals and the work plans with which we had started the project. And we also check the work allocation, the phases into which the work of the project was divided. And we look at the timeline and the finances that were allocated, and we check how much work has already been done in the phases which we have covered and within the timeline that was given. And also, we take a look at the various problems and bottlenecks which have arisen and how they have been dealt with. This is the first part. So, the work that is already done in the project. The second part is the work that is presently ongoing, or the current phases of the work. So we try to offer a brief description of the work that is being done, and we try to make an estimate of the work rate that is currently ongoing. Okay, so this is the second part of the progress report. The third part is, of course, the work that remains to be done for the project to be complete. So there is an accurate estimate, or as accurate as it is possible, of how much work is really left in the project. Also, a budgetary estimate if this is the part of the budget allocation which is spent already. So how much of the budgetary allocation is remaining for the rest of the time period in the timeline? And accordingly, how much financial resources do we have in our hands? So if this is the percentage of the work that is completed, if this is the amount of money that is spent, we can arrive at some sort of conclusion regarding the time planning that is required for the rest of the work to be done for the project to be complete, and also how much of the financial allocation will need to be deployed in order for the project to be completed. So an overall appraisal is really facilitated with the help of this kind of a report. Progress reports are also useful because they help us to pinpoint different kinds of stumbling blocks in the course of a project. For example, in the building of the railway embankment, for example, there might be some factors like, let's say, there is a problem with cutting through the incline of the hill which is being undertaken in order to build this embankment. So there may be the ground is very hard, but there are some other problems. So that can be a problem. Or let's say in the construction of the school building, so there is a strike by the workers. So there is labor trouble. So we are not able to get the workers for a certain phase of the work. That can be a problem like this. So we are enabled to pinpoint the stumbling blocks in the course of the completion of the project. We can also make an estimate of the growth rate and the success rate. And we are, of course, enabled to get a realistic estimate of the finances that have been spent and the manpower utilization. And we can troubleshoot the various difficulties which arise. So we can say that progress reports are extremely useful in various ways in enabling us to understand what progress we have made in the projects so far. Now, I think we need to shed some light on the format of these reports before we take a look at a sample report. Now, the project report, or we can say the progress report of a project, may take the following forms. It can be a short report, like a memo report, which is an informal report to someone within the organization. Like, for example, your boss may ask you to submit a short memo report on the kind of work that you have done on a certain project. So it's really informal. It's very short. It may be a few pages or maybe a page or two long. And it's a very brief assessment of the work that you have done. Or it can be a letter report, which is a short informal report which is sent to somebody outside the organization. So let's say any of the financial authorities or anybody else who wants to know something about the work that you have done. So you send a short letter covering some of the essential aspects of the work done. Now, both of these are really very short reports, the memo and the letter report, and they are relatively informal. But there is also a long and formal report which is required, and certainly for larger projects or the projects involving several years or large funding amounts, this is absolutely necessary. So a long formal report which is sent to somebody outside the organization, it is submitted through a formal channel, and of course it is organized efficiently, and it is as the name suggests, it's a long report. It may be of a certain length or sufficient length to cover all the essential aspects of the report. Okay, now the format of this kind of a progress report. Now there is a specific structure of organization of these reports. We begin, of course, with the title page where we have the project title, the report period, followed by an introduction, the purpose, the approach and the results, and evaluation of the work that is done, the problems that are encountered, and how to improve the project. So this is the structure, or we can say the layout of this kind of a report. Okay, now there are certain tips to writing the report or ways of writing the report. How to write this kind of a progress report? First of all, I think the thing that needs to be done is to do a thorough research of the background and the history of the project. Get all the details of the work that is done. What was the timeline of this project? Was it 3 years? Was it 1 year? So, what was the time period? And how much of the work has been done? Let's say the work is divided into phases. So, phase 1 was supposed to be completed in the first year. Phase 2 was supposed to be completed in the second year, and phase 3 is remaining for the third year. So let's say in a 3-year project, 2 phases of the work have already been completed. So is the progress rate satisfactory? Has the work been done in this period, or does some work still remain to be done? So look at the timeline, look at the phases, then do a progress check. Who has actually done this work? Were the people who were tagged for doing the work, have they done it? Or have they done it with the assistance of somebody else from the outside? Or have they not done the work, but somebody from outside has been called in to do the work? There can be so many different ways and, let's say, even problems which may crop up. So who has actually done the work? Then the next thing to take a look at is how much of the work has already been completed, and have the targets that were set up at the beginning, have they been realized? If so, well, of course, that is satisfactory. And if they have not been realized, then why have they not been realized? Give certain reasons or specific factors. Now, once you have got the material by doing research to cover or to answer all these questions, the next thing is to write an introduction. So we need to sketch in the background of this project and to look at the scope and the objectives of the project. We also need to specify what are the sources from which we have collected the information. So these are all the pieces of information which will go into the writing of an introduction. Next is we do really a thorough check of all the work that is already done in the project, like what were the materials used, what were the manpower and finances deployed, has there been any shortfall in any of these? So if so, why and how has the shortfall been met? Next, what we need to do is to make an estimate of the current work that is being done in the project. So at what phase are you in the work in the project? What kind of work is currently being done? What about the start and the end dates of the project? How long are you expected to continue the work? Have you faced any problems? So what kind of problems are these? Please specify. So we have to answer all these questions and get the relevant material to answer these questions. Okay. Then let us see. So enabling us to answer all these questions will, of course, help us in writing the progress report. Now, I shall be taking a look at a sample progress report with the help of a case study. Okay, so what is this report about? The topic of this report is construction work, or we can say it's a progress report on the construction of a 300-seater mini sports pavilion at Riverdale High School in Missouri, which is a boarding school in Missouri. The time period of this project is 3 years. So it's a 3-year long project, and it has a budget of 10.5 lakhs. Now, this report is really an annual progress report. So let's say if it's a 3-year project, there is a progress report which is submitted at the end of the first year, another one at the end of the second year, and a final report at the end of the third year. So this is one of those annual reports of the work that is done in the project. Let's see which year it is. Now, it is prepared by the principal and administration of Riverdale High School, and it is submitted to the chairman of the Riverdale Trust. Okay, so this is the case study, sample case study with which we engage ourselves in looking at the progress report. Okay, so how do we format this report? Right, this is the front page, or this is what the front page would look like. You notice that right on top we have the name of the school and the address given over there. Below that is the report title. So first we start with the organization's name as the heading, and then we center the title of the report. The title of this report is that of any report which is a formal one. So it's a longish title. Progress Report on Sports Pavilion Construction from 2007 to 10. And at the bottom we have the submission date of this report, which is March 2009. So we can estimate that in this 3-year long project, so the work has been done for 2 years, and this is the annual report which is submitted at the end of the second year. Okay, so this is the front page of the report. Now, the introduction and the early parts of this report. Now, I'm reading out from the sample introduction which is written to this progress report. This is an annual progress report on the construction of the sports pavilion at Riverdale High School, Missouri from 2007 to 10. The report presents a detailed account of the work completed and the present status of the project. So, how much work has already been done and what is the present status of the project? Now, a little bit of exploration into the background. Riverdale High School is a very large and exclusive co-educational public boarding school located in the Tranquil Hill Station of Missouri. With a capacity of over 1,500 students, it is run by the Riverdale Trust and has been functioning for 75 years. So this is, you will see, a brief look at the history of the school, the nature of the school, and what kind of work is being done. So there are some facts and figures which are given. The school is run by the Riverdale Trust and has been functioning for 75 years. The school especially excels in sports and has excellent facilities. There are 3 tennis courts, badminton and squash courts, a football ground, and a cricket field. But training facilities are limited, and matches cannot often be played here owing to the lack of available space for seating the audience. Hence, the management decided to build a 300-seater sports pavilion in 2007 with a budget of 10.5. Okay, so this is a bit of a delving into the background for this construction of the sports pavilion. Why is the school building a sports pavilion at all? The reason for that is given. This school is a school which really excels in sports, and the students have often won prizes in major championships. The school has also excellent facilities for playing several games like tennis, badminton, and squash. But, and here is the important factor, due to limited seating capacities and lack of facilities for training the students in various games and sports, the school is being handicapped. So, in order to meet this requirement, the sports pavilion, which will have a capacity of around an audience of 300 strong, which will enable different kinds of matches to be played and also training to be provided is being constructed. Okay, so that's the background to the construction of the sports pavilion. Now, the purpose and scope of this report and the work that is done. I'm again reading from the extract that is given from the sample report. The purpose of the project is to create a congenial space for the accommodation of a 300-strong audience, for the enabling of practice matches, and space and provisions for imparting sports training to students being groomed for interstate championships. So once we have this pavilion in place, we will be able to train up the students. We will have space to provide this training and facilities for providing this training in-house, and also we can have matches played so that they can practice for going in for interstate championships. So it will be very valuable. Okay, again I'm reading from the report. The scope of the project involves the building of a sports pavilion with a central amphitheater, 3 practice courts, indoor, changing rooms with lockers, and a fitness center. A small gym and trainer's cafeteria shall also be constructed. So what exactly is involved in the construction of the sports pavilion? This is given in very, very precise details. Okay, next, I'm again reading from the extract that I have given. The project envisions the creation of a fitness center with a dedicated trainer for imparting fitness training to the students and a qualified physiotherapist for looking after fitness and health issues. The theatre will enable the playing of matches, as the school does not have the space as yet to hold matches involving a large number of spectators. Inter-school matches can now be played. So this is how practice, training, and fitness needs will all be met and facilitated with the help of the sports pavilion. Okay, so the purpose and scope are delineated. Now, estimate of the work that is done in the project. Okay, so as I have already said, there are 3 parts. The first one is how much work has been already done. Right, so let us say that in this 3-year project from April to June 2008, that is the first year of the completion of the project. The work is divided into phases: July to September, October to December, and January to March. So you can see it's kind of quarterly division of the phases. Right. So in the construction of this sports pavilion, in this phase, the work that was done was the construction of the amphitheater. Okay, but this is the second year of the project. Let us go back a little to the work done in the course of the first year. So April to June 2007, when we had the inception of the project. So the work is again divided into phases from July to September 2007, October to December in 2007, and January to March 2008. Now, the developments in the course of the project in this period were the construction of the building foundations, so civil construction mainly, and also the plumbing, electrical wiring, coloring and painting, carpentry work, and all other kinds of work which is required to build up the infrastructure of the pavilion. This was done with the help of local labor available on contract, and plumbers, electricians, carpenters, and others have been supplied by Dastoor and Company. So there's a kind of contractor who is in place. Now the expenditure from April to June was 67,000 rupees, from July to September was 60,000 rupees, and October to December was 65,000. In January to March 2008, the expenditure is 1,50,000 rupees. So all total during this year, the expenditure that has been done is rupees 3,42,000. Now we take a look at the work that is done in the second year, that is April to June 2008. Again, there are phases like July to September, October to December, and January to March. Now, in this phase, the developments were the construction of the amphitheater, the setting up of the acoustic system, the seating areas, the lighting of the theater and the training areas, and the construction and the fitting of the training areas. Again, the work has been done with the help of the labor from the student company, and also the lighting has been supplied by Philips Lighting. Expenditure has been 1,50,000 from July to September, 75,000 from October to December, and 70,000 in January to March. So all total during this year, rupees 3 lakhs have been spent. Now we take a look at the present status of the work. That is March 2009. This is the time at which the report is being written. At this time, the civil construction has been completed, electrical and other infrastructure has already been set up. The amphitheater and the training rooms have been completed, the acoustic and other fittings have also been completed. So we can say that a good bit of the work is already complete, or we can say that 80 to 85% of the work that was required is already complete. Now, how much of the work is really left now? Well, the stadium and training area fitting is left, the bringing of the gym equipment, and the cafeteria construction. These are the parts of the project which are still remaining. Now, total expenditure till March has been rupees 6 lakhs 42,000. So, out of the budgetary allocation of 10.5 lakhs, we have 4 lakh and 8,000 rupees still remaining. So, this is the funding for the third and final year of the project. Okay. So, we can do a kind of planning for the work that is done. So, in view of the construction work and the fittings added in the first two phases of the work from 2007 to March 2009, the general pace of work completion is as per the deadline set. Deployment of manpower has met the desired goals, and the funds utilization has also been adequate. So we can say that more or less the progress of the work of the project has so far been satisfactory. Okay, I'm reading from the sample report once again. The timeline for the completion, the remaining work of construction of the gym, the fittings and the equipping of it, the building of the cafeteria shall be completed within the timeline of March 2010, that is in 1 year. So the conclusion of this report, the general pace of work completed in the project is as per guidelines and schedule. In 2 years, 80% of the total projected work has been completed. Funds utilization has also been properly done. It is fully expected that the project will be completed on time. So the reality check on the project has been done with the conclusion that the progress rate is fairly satisfactory so far, both in terms of the financial utilization, also the manpower allocation, also the construction work or the work that has been done is fairly satisfactory. So there have not been any major problems which have cropped up in the course of the completion of the work. So this is how we get to write a progress report. As you can understand, writing a progress report is an extremely useful exercise because there will be various ongoing projects when you are working in the workplace, in your organization, and you will all have to make an estimate of how much work has been done in these projects by writing a progress report. So I hope I've been able to make it clear to you how to write these kinds of reports as far as possible, and we will learn more about the reports in the course of our other lectures. So this brings us to the end of this particular lecture. So I would like to thank you.